Hi, this is Michael Benjamin Jacobson. Uh, you'll find books I've written under the name Matthew Robert Payne. If you want to research who I am, just look under the books Matthew Robert Payne. I've written 55 Christian books, spent $110,000 publishing 55 books, and then found out, much to my surprise, that church doesn't want to hear from me, like to visit a church. Someone from heaven visited me 3.5 years ago and said the church won't be ready for me and my message for 5 years. So I realised I've got another 1.5 years to wait. So I'm happy because I trust the person that came from heaven, and I trust that the church isn't ready for the narrow road message. They're a lot more interested in the broad way that leads to destruction, watered down gospel. The only reason I'm here right now and recording this message is because I just had 2 lucid dreams in a row. I heard myself twice give this message to the Australian public through video, and on the second time through I just woke myself up and I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to sleep until I deliver this message. It's obvious that Jesus wants this message released. I feel that Australia's in big trouble. At the moment, Prime Minister Scott Morrison is selling Australia down the river. At the moment, it seems that Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has allowed Australia to burn, and it seems like it was a plan set in place by the Illuminati many years ago. At present, Prime Minister Scott Morrison is allowing the water of Australia to be sold in the Murray-Darling Basin. And I seen on TV last week farmers begging for water, begging that there be a better water allocation for their farms, because they're losing their farms and they're giving up their farms to Chinese and foreign interests who are buying up, corporate entities buying up their farms. Scott Morrison, in some words is a Christian, but the devil, Satan, achieves a lot more with the front man that's in the working for the devil, working for the deep state, working for the swamp, working for the spiritual elite, working for the elite Illuminati, and so Scott Morrison is in bed with them. Now, that could all be conspiracy theory. Australia has been warned about coming judgment. Sadhu Sundar Selvaraj has warned of judgments that are going to come to Australia. He's mentioned bushfires, he's mentioned blood in the water, he's mentioned earthquakes. In Israel, Folau, 3 weeks ago, warned that the Australian bushfires and the drought is just a little bit of the judgment that God is going to pour out on this nation. The nation hated what he said. Scott Morrison mocked it, and church leaders said this isn't the way that God operates. I've been giving warnings for 2 to 3 weeks on my YouTube channel, and many of the warnings are recorded on YouTube under Prophetic Wording for Australia, Prophetic Word for Australia. I've got a whole channel. I've got a whole playlist of warnings that people should listen to. And I'll put that link under the description tag in here, and I'll put that link there. You can go and watch my warnings for the last 3 weeks. I changed my name to Michael Benjamin Jacobson according to the Lord. I changed it 15 years ago by deed poll. It's officially Michael Benjamin Jacobson, but you can operate under 2 names depending on what you're doing. And I never changed my bank accounts and all my accounts into Michael Benjamin Jacobson 15 years ago. I just went on for reasons only to myself. And I've changed my name now on social media to Michael Benjamin Jacobson. As I did so, I moved into the position of watchman. And now for 10 years, I've been ministering to America. In the last 3 weeks, the Lord has shifted that and said, okay, now it's time to minister to Australia and be a watchman over Australia. Now, a watchman is someone who's meant to warn on incoming calamity. I can see 3 things that has to be changed. The abortion laws in Australia, the same-sex marriage in Australia, and the allocation of water in Australia has to go to the farms. There are 3 things that need to change. Now, it's not as though I haven't been trying. I've been putting these prophetic messages on YouTube. A couple of my prophetic messages last week I sent to the main mailing address at Hillsong on the email, and the Australian Prophetic Council. I sent messages there, and I said, get this message out. And they're refusing to do so. I never heard back from Hillsong, never heard back from the Australian Prophetic Council. It's not as though I'm just some random hopeless prophet, although not many people know who I am. But I told the Australian Council of the Prophetic, Australian Prophetic Council and Hillsong to check out Heidi Baker and check out James Goll and check out with them personally who Matthew Robert Payne is, because I prophetically prophesied over James Goll, not James Baker, James Goll. I've prophesied over James Goll 3 times personally, and over Heidi Baker 3 times, over a husband 3 or 4 times, over a son and a daughter. So they know who I am. They know that I'm a true prophet of God. And I'm telling you, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know whether it's going to be just as it turns January 1st, 2020. But there's earthquakes coming. It looks like Sydney Harbour is going to turn to blood. The 10 plagues of Moses looks as though they're going to manifest. There's all sorts of shocking judgments coming to Australia, and the Australian government's got to be warned. The Australian government's got to change these legislations and turn things around, or else there's going to be hell to pay. And I think the Old Testament prophets felt like this too. They brought warnings to the nation of Israel. They brought warnings to other nations. They told them what had to happen, how things had to change, what had to change, or else God is going to judge. And they were laughed at. Isaiah was sawn in 2. Prophets were killed, and all sorts of people laughed at them. And I can see why, because it's shocking to think that God is going to judge. But God's got big plans for Australia, and they're not Illuminati plans. God's going to change Australia, make Australia into a godly nation, and he's going to rule and reign from Australia. And he doesn't care. He doesn't mind how many people are going to have to die in order to turn this country around. And this sounds shocking. It sounds crazy, but Sadhu Sundar Selvaraj has said things like that. Israel Folau has said something like that. And I'm saying it right now, that Australia's got to change. Things have got to change. And a nation of Australia's got to repent. I'm basically giving this prophetic word to the Christian church and saying someone needs to reach out to me, someone with power needs to reach out to me, and we've got to do a coordinated effort to write to the government and make sure these changes happen, or else Australia's going to be seriously judged. But I can see no one's going to pay attention. I can see no one's going to do anything. I can see that the Australian Church aren't interested. I can see that Australian Prophetic Council isn't interested. I can say the biggest church in Australia, Hillsong, isn't interested. The Christians who are watching this on YouTube aren't interested, and no one's interested. I've written to the Australian Prime Minister in an email. I've done a prophetic word with the Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, in the title on YouTube. 2 days ago, I was under so much stress. Satan put me under so much stress that they took me to a psych ward, and I had a 45-minute interview with the psychiatrist, and she let me go. And they realised that that was just stress. I was just saying things, and I'm not unsafe to people, and I'm not unsafe to myself. And she let me go after a 45-minute interview. If I write to the media and say these things are going to happen, the police will come around here and lock me up again. I don't fancy being locked up. I prefer to be in my own place, doing my own thing, and I certainly don't want to be locked away for making crazy videos and threatening people. So I could send this video to the media, and I would end up with police at my door and being locked up once again. So I'm compelling you, if you're watching this video, I compel you to get in touch with a leader in the Christian church and say, hey, consider this guy. Go and do your research. Look at the 3 weeks worth of urgent warnings that I've done on my YouTube channel. Have a look at the other warnings that I've done by people on my YouTube channel on the playlist that I list in the description tag. Have a look at everything I say. Do your research, and someone sound the alarm, because I haven't got the money, I haven't got the finances, I haven't got the ability, and I'm trying my best. And it just seems that the 50 or so people watching these warnings don't care for anything. They just don't care. And I'm talking to you in the future, you people of Australia that lost loved ones and lost people that they care about in these judgments. I'm talking to you and saying, hey, I didn't cause this. It wasn't my fault. I was really trying. And so you can blame the Australian Church, you can blame Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and you can blame Hillsong Church, and you can blame the Australian Prophetic Council for not sounding the warning. So that's essentially what I have to say. You need to get things done. And if you're watching this, reach out to me, write to me, and let's work out together how we're going to warn the Australian public. Amen.